used to say yes all the time to everything. And it's just, at some point, it just stopped working for me. I couldn't do that anymore, And so then saying no to things that maybe not serving where I'm going at this moment, in
It's
this
so
point. And I
hard
think
though,
that's
isn't it?
important. It's hard,
So
especially
hard.
if you're used to saying yes all the time, right? And it's almost like you're missing out on some
Yeah.
things, right? Like we want to be included, right? And so if I say no, am I going to be missing out on this, whatever everybody or whatever this group is doing? But then it's important to recognize that at the end of the day, because once we do that exercise, it can help us move faster where we truly want to go.
I just wanted to start this episode with a message of thanks. Thank you to everyone that chooses to listen to this podcast. By doing this, you're enabling me to reach more people so that they might learn how to unchain the pain to live a healthier, happier life. The feedback that I get from those that take action and are inspired by the show's content is incredibly rewarding. So I'd like to ask you a teeny tiny favour. You are truly able to change the course of this podcast, the types of guests I have on this show, and everything that I do by doing one simple thing. And that is simply hitting the subscribing button. The guests on this podcast are incredible because so many of you have hit that button. When I think of what I want to do this year on this show, this is fueled by the amount of you that subscribe, that tune in, and that comment on the show's content. So please keep subscribing, keep commenting. Any type of comment, please keep them coming, and keep sharing the shows that you find inspiring. I can't wait to see what this year brings for this show, for you, for my community, and for this platform. Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Brain Health, Unchaining Your Pain. I am delighted to be joined by the wonderful Elle Ballard. Welcome to the show, Elle.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Oh, you're most welcome. So for those that don't know Elle, she is a holistic abundance mentor, founder of the Women of the World Network, which is super exciting, author and speaker, and her mission is to help women tackle both personal and professional obstacles, prevent burnout, and uplift their overall well-being, unlocking their untapped potential. My goodness, don't we all need that for those women who are in the professional space and we don't pay that much attention to it often. So I'm really excited to dive into this conversation. But before we do, I would love to know what you are passionate about in life right now.
Yes. Oh, thank you again for having me. It's great to be here, Ruth, and have this conversation with you. What am I passionate about is really having, energy to be present fully in all of the life areas, being a holistic and being passionate about holistic abundance, right? And what is holistic abundance? First of all, holistic abundance to me is being present in all of the life areas, having the money, having the tools, right? But also having health, being present with family, kids, grandkids, loved ones, partners, parents, doing something for fun, definitely needed, something that lights us up. So having enough time in the day and energy to be fully present in all of those areas that matter to us, that's what I'm passionate about.
I think, I think that's so important. And I love the fact that you use the word presence, because I personally have been disconnected and not present from family or from your loved ones, because I got so wrapped up in my own self-stress that you kind of internalize everything and you can't connect with the outside world because you're so focused on trying to survive inside. And I think it's so important that we focus on the importance of presence,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When I've done this exercise of looking at my life as a whole, I've noticed how much I've been spending building my business, and doing everything that needs to be done to move the business forward, and that's where I become passionate to, because I started wondering how many people have the same thing where, goals are important, of course, go after our goals and achieving, and it's important for us human beings to grow and evolve, but it's also important to take the time where it's needed to pause, to preserve that energy, so that we have energy when we wake up, so that we have this feeling of joy when we wake up, we're ready to go after our day, instead of being burned out, or being this waking up with this heavy feeling of, oh, what is, like, I need to do this, so how do we pursue that, right? In
Yeah,
every single morning when we wake up.
yeah. And has there ever been a time for you where you haven't been present yourself?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Definitely, mentioning, like I mentioned, spending so much time in business building, I've noticed even speaking with people, I would think about that, right? Like not fully participating or not fully listening to the conversation. Um, and that's where I had to catch myself, right, and just really move away. Or worse, even worse, when we speaking to our family members or to our loved ones, and we have that, the next goal, or what we can do next, right? So not being fully present. Or when I do my dancing routine, sometimes it's just, yeah, it's just all this. And so definitely learning to prioritize, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, and being fully present at whatever
Yeah.
we're doing at hand.
And so I'd love to ask you then, what does optimal brain health mean for you personally in the context of your life's journey? And then we can dive into all those
Yeah,
elements.
yeah. Oh, I think it's we it, along with being present in all of our life areas, each of those life areas has its own things to do, right? Or things
Yeah.
we need to attend to. So for me, having the optimal brain health is being able to attend to all of those things, having the clarity what's important, um, and understanding what is needed for me. That's another thing. I think we are
Mhm.
also different. So personally, what's needed for me as a mother, as a grandmother, as a business
Mhm.
builder, um, every single day, and for my brain health. How much sleep do I need to get for my for me personal, for my
Mhm.
body? Like I normally need 8 to 9 hours. Some people say they can do with 6 hours of sleep or whatever.
Mhm.
For me, it has to be 8, 9 hours, right? And
Yeah.
that's where it starts. I think those basic self-care, mm, I think that's the foundation for optimal brain health to me. Journaling, things like that. I think if we take care of the foundational things, then it will be easier for us to develop that optimal brain health as we age.
Mhm. And has on all of those elements, I know you mentioned clarity and the understanding our needs and the journaling and the importance of sleep and all of the fundamental elements that we so often throw out when we're very busy working people.
Yeah.
Um, what could you take us on a journey, on your personal journey, where your journey started, that led you to really get a grip of all of the important elements that make up our brain health, and what brought you into holistic abundance?
Yeah. Um, so I used to be in a corporate world. My background is
Hmm.
marketing, and I have built a great career. I've learned a lot, and then I've moved on to open my own business, which you mentioned earlier, Women of the World Network. Um, and now I also help women with this idea of being present in all of the life areas through holistic
Hmm.
abundance program that I do, through the retreats that I do, and my personal journey led me in the way where at one point I've recognized where I cannot be, just I cannot be everywhere, right? Like I cannot be doing all of these things, or really listening to all the voices, or trying to attend to all the voice, all the information that's coming at me. And that connects also to me, to the optimal brain health, as well as at the end of the day, I had to pause and I had to ask myself, what do I want to be? What do I want to be known for at the end of the day? Like, what is one thing that really truly matters to me outside of the noise, outside of what everybody else is saying, like me personally? And that's where, for me, it became really apparent, like it's important for me to be present in all of the areas of my life. I cannot take one over the other. And then I had to break those into the important buckets, what those are for me. Personal growth, in addition to developing, mental, like that's again, the for the holistic, for the brain health, right? Like learning a skill up outside of the business, maybe, the personal growth and all of those things. That's how I've realized, and so I'm a dancer as well. So for me to pay attention to the dancing and to my specific dancing goals, right? Whether it's achieving next goal and dancing bronze and bronze 2, 3, 4, and then silver. So all of those, what is important? That was important for me when I paused and asked myself those questions. And then I started removing everything that's not helping me to get where I'm going, or when I want to be in 5-10 years. And I think that's important. I actually recorded a podcast on the importance of saying no, because I used to say yes, yes, yes all the time. I used to say yes all the time to everything. And it's just, at some point, it just stopped working for me. I couldn't do that anymore, and so then saying no to things that maybe not serving where I'm going at this moment, in
It's
this
so
point. And I
hard
think
though,
that's
isn't it?
important. It's hard,
So
especially
hard.
if you're used to saying yes all the time, right? And it's almost like you're missing out on some things, right? Like we want to be included, right? And so if I say no, am I going to be missing out on this, whatever everybody or whatever this group is doing or that group is doing? Yeah. But then it's important to recognize that at the end of the day, because once we do that exercise, it can help us move faster to where we truly want to go. Because I've realized a lot of that was a distraction to me, but still takes my energy to attend to that, right? I still have to maybe drive or be present, even if it's online. I don't have to make a drive, but I still have to bring myself and my energy to participate.
And I think, go on, you carry on. Sorry for interrupting.
No, yeah. So I was finishing. So it just takes energy, all of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just reflecting on my day to day, going through my task list of all the things I could do, but the things that are most important to me to move things forward for my business. It's so easy, especially when you're an entrepreneur, to get distracted with hundreds and hundreds of ideas and not be able to really dial it in on what's the most important thing, that one thing, like you mentioned, that you want to be known for. What is it that your clients struggle with in the most with when you run your retreats, your holistic abundance retreats? What are the big challenges that you notice professional women keep coming up against?
Yeah, it's a lot of the times it's hitting that next level in business or in life, whatever that next level is. Some of the times it's really just making a decision that it's up to us, and that sometimes is hard to just recognize that, right? We need outside help to recognize that. And then also that inner power, and that's where the inner power comes into the picture.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. depending on what decisions we have to make, sometimes in life we get so in the situation, in the depths of the situation, we get so immersed
Mhm.
in that, and it's hard for us to see the way out, or it's hard for us to see that, okay, when we break this, we need to get out, whether it's relationship that's no longer working,
Yeah.
which I had to do that before in my own life,
Yeah.
whether it's maybe a job that's no longer interesting, for those in the corporate world, or position no longer interesting, or for business builders, maybe it's a program that's no longer working, but we
Mhm.
keep doing that because we're just not seeing that, and sometimes it helps for outsider to see it, or for somebody else. And so what I do is I help women, and I bring the dancing modality, so we do that through mind and body connection. And I think it's
Mhm.
just so important to, a lot of the times we just sit here and we overanalyze. We get into that mode of analyzing it too much, where we need to just get away,
Mhm.
and do it. So we do dancing moves in my
Mhm.
program, where we just dance, and it's not about the dancing technique of it. It's just really moving the body.
Mhm.
I introduce some of the choreography or some of the moves, but it's not about the technique or the how perfect a dancer we should be. It's not about that. It's just about getting from here into the body, because when we do, we start to learn how we feel with the body better. We start to really operate in as a whole being, because it's not separate. And a
No.
lot of the times, this is, we do it, we live our lives as separate from the body. But when we connect the dots, we will realize how much our body already knows, how many
Yeah.
answers we can receive from just the feeling, and all of those things. So I think, so that's how I do it. But then with that comes the realization of that inner power that I was talking about,
Yeah.
because then we uncover that. We're like, oh, we have those aha moments. Oh, wow, this feels good. This is exactly what I need right now. Or now I see a better picture, or a clear picture. And we do different um, life assessments as well,
Mhm.
because it has three different modules, where we look at different life areas.
Mhm.
And again, to that conversation, being holistically present everywhere, um, looking at where it's really missing, and making sure we intentionally add to that.
Mhm.
Um, that is also part of it,
I love
as
that,
well.
because
Mhm.
I was just going to say, like, the
Thank
dancing
you.
piece that you mentioned, I think that's so
Yeah.
important, because, like, we so often hold the answer in our body because our mind
Yes.
isn't listening. So, including from, from the worst level of holding it, which would be trauma, all the way up to, realizing abundance, is that our body is holding a lot of stuff. We hold stress in our
Hmm.
body because our mind is too overwhelmed. So it's so important that we listen to what our body is saying and that we feel it better, because we can get so disconnected from it, can't we?
So true. So true. Yeah, absolutely. And in the retreats, there is a lesser time for me to do so, but we do it like in a mini version of it, because we still do every day the dancing. So we're doing our next retreat in Morocco. But along with that, though, the powerful part that comes is a cultural immersion part, where
Mhm.
it's where we get outside of the daily comfort, and that's where the growth happens as well. That's where the inner power, and we grow through that. Being in a different environment, being away from the daily to-do list that we entrepreneurs have, like, you mentioned earlier, that we have to do, um, and we go and do every day, and we just, and then the day is over.
Yeah, no,
um,
I love it, because it all ties into the 5 pillars of brain health that I focus on with
I
my
love it.
clients, which, you mentioned we need to feel it, which is the first
Yes.
pillar. Understand
Oh,
whether the actions are serving you or not serving you, which is the second. And
beautiful.
the third is the connecting internally
Yeah.
with yourself and externally with your environment. And then we hadn't touched on the thoughts bit yet, but obviously our surroundings are so fundamental to how we show up, which is the fifth pillar. I love the fact that you take people into a different environment so that they can really disconnect from all of the normal sensory familiarities that they have.
Familiarity, exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what do you notice? What are the big shifts that you notice with your clients? Can you share any stories?
Yeah, we just had one in Turkey, and it was beautiful. The fact that we just got away, and I had that in my life, that where and I can share that as well, but where just I had this issue, right? It would, like, I'll share it. I was flying overseas, and it was during, like, at the end of pandemic, where I needed the test done. So I'm waiting for that, and my flight is later that day, and I'm waiting for that test result, and I'm not receiving an email and nothing, right? And I need to catch that flight, and it's overseas. It's an international flight. And so, and of course, I'm nervous now, how do I get like, whether I'm going to get on time and all that. And then I still had, about maybe 7 hours to go before I actually have to board the plane. So I decided to go for massage. And in that moment where I actually disconnected from like, I gave myself this space, okay, you know what? I'm just going to forget about this right now. And I'm going to go for a massage. And so when I mentally disconnected from being in that issue of, right, it's not like I couldn't solve it, right? It's just, I had to wait. The moment I left it, and I just stepped away from it, an hour later, I came back. I received an email with results. Everything was good, and I was able to board that plane on time.
Yeah.
And so that's to the conversation of where we need to get away sometimes to see the issue as an outsider, or whatever it is, maybe even a small problem, a challenge. But when we get away, and so in our retreat in Turkey, like, one of our participants, she was appointed as a chairwoman of the organization. Another one, she tripled her business when she came back. And so those are the results, where when we get away from the daily, and then we immerse into something to expand ourselves. And this was internationally done. She wasn't even locally here, but she was still appointed as a chairwoman of the organization that she wanted to be part of, that she's been, so those are the actual results. And so I think it's just so important to remember. And for the optimal brain health, I think it's just important too, to give ourselves that space and time, right, to get away.
Yeah. I know, I think it's so important because it gives ourselves permission to escape. So we start, when we get caught up in that moment of stress, our brain starts moving into a sort of fight or flight response state. And so when we give ourselves permission to escape that environment that's causing our brain to think the way it's thinking, we allow ourselves to move from the fight flight state to I'm now safe, which frees up your body's ability to move from your brain that's in a reptilian mode and can't think freely because it wants to get away from the situation, to a more human centric mode, because we're now activating our prefrontal cortex, which is the logical thinking part of our brain. So by giving ourselves that permission just to completely disconnect from the space or the environment that's causing us the anxiety or whatever it may be, that's not allowing us to show up as our best, is just so important.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you.
And I'd love to dive into the 5 pillars, because I know I mentioned them briefly before we move on to helping people achieve that next level. But if we dive into feelings, we talked about this first. What emotion or feeling is most important to you in life, and why?
feeling of internal peace is important.
Mhm.
Yeah, where no matter what's happening around me, and no matter, by the way, what the outcome is too, where I'm okay with whatever that outcome is.
Mhm.
That's the feeling I'm after.
It's so hard to achieve though, especially when you're a working business
Yeah,
lady and
yeah,
mum and
yeah. And every time we put the goals, we want to grow, so we put high goals, and then every time they're not shaping, or we start, I didn't meet that goal, or didn't it's not looking like I'm going to meet that goal, right? But it's all about, we forget, it's all about really why we do this. We do this to grow ourselves.
yeah.
And so when when I remind myself of that, I'm already growing so much if I compare myself from yesterday. So and I think that's what helps me to get to that inner peace today.
Yeah.
Just understanding and recognizing and embracing that
Yeah.
fact.
And I think it's important we remind ourselves that we are always growing, because
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
negative, what we may perceive as negative, is
Yeah.
actually a growth opportunity.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah. Or something that triggers us, right? Like I
yeah.
love how you went there. Something that triggers us, especially. So, and that's what I love, right? Like when receiving feedback or when listening to something, it's nice. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's a good feedback. Yeah. But the better feedback, right, will be, did something trigger? Oh, did something trigger me in that? Whoa, that's where the growth is. That's where I need
Mhm.
to go. Right? It's great that the feedback is all positive too, but there are times where I think that's where it can become really transformational if we catch ourselves in that, and then
In the
we
trigger.
really go there. Yeah, and recognize, like, why is it triggering me right now? Like, why am I? That's where the growth is.
Yeah. And I think it's a real gift, isn't it, to be able to help people to do that, because it's having that awareness that you are being triggered,
Yes, exactly.
because we
Yes,
so often, or we go on autopilot and we
yes.
automatically produce a response, but we have
Oh,
no
that's huge.
realization
Yeah.
that something has triggered us to behave that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important. And
Mm-hmm.
what's the most rewarding or fulfilling thing you've ever done? That's on the second pillar of actions.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, it's been rewarding for me to just build my business,
Uh-huh.
to see the results in my clients, producing the multi-author books. We're publishing now book number 4. Um, the whole experience is just rewarding. Um, yeah, it's with all it's been so much more than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
And again, back to that factor of growth in it. I love seeing the transformation in my clients,
Hmm.
because that transforms me as well. So it goes both ways, right? And that's why, as much work as it is to host an international retreat, right? And just all, like, bringing the pieces together, I just truly enjoy that, the whole process of how it expands us,
Hmm. Hmm.
everybody, me
Everybody,
including.
yeah. And
Yeah.
because you're liking your own community that you've made to
Yeah.
allow that growth to occur,
Hmm.
which is, a lovely thing to be able to do. Can you share
Thank
some of the
you.
big successes? Because you kind of said, I've done a lot of things, and I know you have, but if you
Yeah.
share with the accomplishments that you've achieved.
Yes. With Building Women of the World Network, we
Yeah,
have women from 23 countries represented in the community that are women who are living in the US.
amazing.
We have over 45, thank you. We have over 45 international best-selling authors, Amazon international best-selling authors in our community. I mentioned we're publishing book number 4 in October.
What's the name of the
And
book?
I'm
With the name?
Yeah, it's dedicated to women entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
So it's an entrepreneurial journey, but it's such a there's so much depth in those stories.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much growth in those stories. That's personal growth that people went through, that's shared. Yeah, so I'm grateful and I'm thankful for all those who came forward to participate. We have 10 amazing authors, and we usually celebrate countries those women from. I believe this book has 11 countries
Wow.
that are represented in the book, and so yeah, I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
And what really inspired you to start the Women of the World
Mhm.
Network? What was the inspiration behind that
Yeah.
network?
I just love I love just diversity and meeting women from different parts of the world
Mm-hmm.
because I always learn something. Like I talk to
Yeah.
them and I love hearing fresh perspectives on things, right? Like I love deep conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And because of course I myself is originally from the country called Kazakhstan,
Yeah.
and I've been living in the US over 22 years now and building a life here, and you know, it was a business background, working for corporate first and then building my own business, having my own story here. I wanted to create this platform, Women of the World Network, to support other women who are going through similar, challenges that I have gone through,
Mm-hmm.
to support them. And that's kind of where that comes from.
And I think it's lovely to
Yeah.
create that community, because so often we feel like we're disconnected from
Yeah.
our physical community because of the way that the society has changed. And
Yeah.
the opportunity to create a community of like-minded people who are different stages of the same journey can be
Yeah.
so empowering.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, even speaking with you, we right now able to, like, on different parts of the world, to
Yeah,
connect, and I love that. I think
yeah.
it's just so amazing. I guess I couldn't think smaller. So I wanted to create the women of the
No, I love
whole
it.
world.
I love it. I
So,
love it. And
but yeah.
just
Mhm,
just diving into
mhm,
your connections, because I think
yeah.
this is, really at the heart of what you do is,
Mhm.
um, what is your most important value that guides you in life? Because I know you've thrown your values up on your website in big bold letters, because values are so important. I didn't realize really what my values were until I went through a coaching journey myself. So I'd love
Yeah.
to hear from you what your most important value is. And
Yeah, such an important conversation, right? Such important thing to discuss, and remember whenever going back to making 5 to 10 year plan,
yeah.
going back to that. Values are such an important anchor that can help us,
Hmm.
shape, like, helps us shape that, like, where do I
Yeah.
want to be in 5, 10 years, and whatever it is, it's perfectly fine. Of course, it's just
Hmm.
as long as it belongs to me or to you, right, to individual person. Yeah, for me, leaving a legacy behind is very important.
Hmm.
And I think I have 5 or 6 in my
Yeah. So your
list.
values are abundance, happiness,
Yeah,
freedom, growth,
yeah,
clarity, and wellness.
yeah, yeah. Being in that vitality factor, being, maintaining my health, my self-care routine, whatever we talked about, sleeping patterns, like how much sleep my body needs, what kind of food my body can process and cannot
Yeah.
process. Also very different for everybody, right?
Mhm.
I cannot do too many carbohydrates, for example. Like, it's just, we have to know these things. And for me, the happiness, waking up, you asked the most important thing, that's the peace connects to that, right? The
Mhm.
inner peace connects to happiness and joy. Being free, that's big. And when I talk about freedom, I talk about inner freedom and outer freedom.
Mm.
Inner freedom, the internal blocks that we put, that are bigger, they seem to be bigger than the outside. But then when we have the inner freedom, we can, I think it helps us easier create the outer freedom,
Mhm.
monetizing things, right? And creating this life where we are fully abundant, no matter how much money we're making, it's all depends on our preference. So that's important. Those are the things that are important to me. And of course, behind all of that is building a legacy for, I have 2 girls and a granddaughter. And so for them to just, why am I doing all of this? I have a goal, 50,000 women in the next 5 years. That's my goal.
Wow.
Right. And so it's how do I get there? And that's what I'm after. But in all of this process, I have to take care of me and my energy and my health. And so that's why the whole vitality piece and the wellness is part of it, and the dancing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so important. And I think it's so easy for us to just dismiss it in today's world and put it as the lowest priority on our list when we're building a business. And actually, really, it ought to be at the front and center.
Yeah.
Because
So
if you don't put the oxygen mask on first, how on earth are you going to help others?
Yeah, exactly. And I have Women of the World Network, right? Community for women. As women, we are able to do a lot because we can do the things. We can be active in several areas simultaneously, but it doesn't mean that we should forget about our own wellness. And and there are so many modalities today. That's another great thing, I think, to explore, to really understand who we are individually, like human design, all of the things that help us learn about ourselves to fully move forward. Because some of us can be more active, some of us need to really retreat, and it's just all of those, I think, is important.
Yeah, and I think that it's really key to point that out, because we're all so uniquely different, and so one person's approach to managing their health and well-being may be completely different,
exactly,
and divergent to another person. And you have to find what's right for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
important.
And I know when you talked about surroundings, you mentioned your family, and you've mentioned that a few times. But what moving away from the family entity of your surroundings onto the 5th pillar, what is the most beautiful place you've ever visited, and what makes it so special?
Beautiful place?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many beautiful place. I'm gonna go with Cappadocia, Turkey.
Okay.
That's a place. Yeah, that's a place just came to my mind, and that's a place we actually been in May earlier this year. We went end of April, May, and it's very simple, but there is some magic in that simplicity. There is where you can just retreat, and which we did, and we just realizing that outside of the noise, that's where the magic was for me. In that, and that's the first thing that came to my mind, even though I love Paris.
No, I love it. And it just made me think.
I love so many other places, but this one, the first came, so I'm gonna use that, because it's and it's very simple place, right? But it's so magical. There's something about it there, the energy, and just people were nice and sweet, and it was
I can really relate to that, because I find it fascinating that people's places that they love to go, it's just so grounding. It's getting away from all the digital clutter, getting away from everything, and just reconnecting with where we have come from, evolutionarily speaking.
That's it.
And getting back to basics.
That's it.
Getting rid of all of that. You mentioned noise. Get rid of all of that noise. It is so important. And we have a camper van, and I love it, because there's no, you just escape the outside world, and you really have to get back to basics. And I love the fact that there's not an onboard TV. I love all of that. It's not there. and that you can just connect with,
Me
with
too.
Mother Nature.
I love that. Yeah, we had a silent lunch, and it was so interesting, just eating in silence. But it's so amazing how, because I'm not talking to anyone, I'm talking to me, and so I'm receiving the insights myself. It was just so interesting how, for me, it was also big discovery, like big aha moment, but it's going back to, like, it's just simple.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like Robin Sharma said, inner peace is a new luxury, and it's just so true. It's just so true, because
So important. And I just love to dive into the areas of the work that you do for women with burnout. What is it that you find women struggle the most with in the context of preventing burnout and uplifting their overall well-being?
I think, like I mentioned, that inner freedom aspect of it. So the self-sabotage is a big one. And because of the self-sabotage, I think we take on a lot more than we should. Yeah, because we just, we want to be everywhere, whatever that is. That's one of the big one. But then that kind of echoes in other areas that lead to burnout at the end of it, right? That also goes back to, okay, what am I after here? And so those self-sabotaging patterns, I think it's important to recognize, for us to really catch ourselves and recognize, okay, because sometimes we can stop ourselves from really, because it's all available now, right? It's just all available to us now. But it also overwhelms us because of so much information, information coming at us. And so how we go back to that simplicity again, like we talked about.
Which I think is why retreats are so valuable. Where you can disconnect from the clutter, from the noise,
exactly,
and get away with a community of like-minded women or people who have similar goals. And you can work with each other in a safe environment to be able to, discover how you can achieve them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And can you tell the listeners a little bit about your upcoming retreat? Because I know it sounds massively exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ruth. So we will be going to Morocco, April 5th to 13th. And it's called Feminine Escape Deluxe, with that goal of escaping. And I'm inviting busy women, women entrepreneurs who who are working to get to that next level, like we talked about. And very often for us to get to that next level, whatever that is, by the way, we need to actually step aside a little bit and just reorganize our thoughts, just recalibrate and everything. So that's what we're doing in Morocco. We will be dedicating to just rejuvenation, self-care. We'll be doing hammams, which is Turkish and Moroccan bath rituals.
Wow.
We did that in Turkey as well. It's beautiful. We're going to be doing foot baths with essential oils. We'll be doing some cooking. We'll just be doing, and then every morning we'll be doing a little bit of the dancing modalities that I bring, and in the evening we'll gather for insights, sharing. So it will be great connection point also but it's also will be a group of women supporting each other, so women who are going through similar things. So we'll be going to Marrakesh, and then we will be going to the desert for one night. Which will be absolutely amazing, being under the stars, but also for all of that inside, it will be a beautiful place to be, and to just to get that growth and transformation, expansion. And then we we come back. So that's what we are doing in April. If you any of your listeners can check out my website, and I'd love to discuss.
Yeah, no, that would be
Exactly,
amazing
yeah.
for those that are listening. And what
Thank
because
you.
this show is all about brain health and unchaining your pain, what advice would you give to anybody who is really struggling with finding that inner peace that you spoke about, that's so important to get to that next level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say take the time for you to decompress, and even if it's just a few minutes in the day, like at the beginning of the day, just pause. Like pause is so important. Because I think in that pause, when we will realize that we actually don't need to be doing a lot of the things that we are doing, some of them out of habit, some of them we just addicted to the busyness maybe of it, right? Just staying busy, but why are we doing that? Like, do you even need to do that? And I think that's where the clarity comes. And because we know at the end of the day, we really know what we need. We're just sometimes too busy to hear that message or to receive that message. So I think pausing definitely helps to understand what that is.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that we do take that time to pause and to reconnect with our inner self and listen to what our body is telling us.
Yeah.
We forget, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We forget. And the body moves. It could be something simple, even like yoga, right? Like moving the body too.
Right.
Yeah.
So important. It's just been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Thank you for sharing the stories and for the the insights that you've given on how people can achieve holistic abundance. How can people get hold of you and learn more about what you do, about your retreat, and how they can get involved in your programs?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ruth. But it's elleballard.com. And that's where I have all the information there on my retreats and the programs and the community as well. And thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Oh, no, you're most welcome. So do make sure
conversation.
you check out that on her website, and that will be all in the links below in the show notes. Elle, it's been an absolutely great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on my show. Remember, everyone, this show's all about brain health, unchaining your pain, and Elle has kindly been here to show us how. Thanks, Elle.